Portfolio Composer, episode 169.
You're listening to the Portfolio Composer podcast with your host and coach Garrett Hope, where he teaches you what it takes to master the business end of writing music through mindset, marketing, and business skills. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter at theportfoliocomposer.com for exclusive offers, business insights, and information not shared on the podcast. And now, for this episode of the Portfolio Composer.
Hello, composers. Welcome to the Portfolio Composer podcast. I am your host, your coach, your teacher, Garrett Hope. And today is American Thanksgiving. This episode is being released on Thanksgiving Day of 2017. So, happy Thanksgiving. I hope all of you are taking some time to practice some gratitude and listing the things that have brought you joy and peace and happiness in your life. Before I get started, I want to take a moment to thank again my Patreon sponsors who have made this episode and so many of the others possible, and who are participating in the monthly coaching calls, which I think are extremely valuable. It's a time for us to go deep on a specific skill or idea or topic and to ask questions and get some answers in the community. And so thank you to Aaron and all of those who have recently joined as sponsors. If you get any value out of this podcast at all, or if you've been on the fence and debating, come and join us. Join us in our monthly group coaching calls and be a part of the conversation. Join the community that's going on. And you can do that by going to Patreon, that's patreon.com/Portfolio Composer, and join the community. Today is a solo episode, a bit of a coaching short episode. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and that is our idea of success. I know for me personally, as I've been dealing or wrestling with what does success mean in my life, I often find that I focus on 1 to 2 areas, and these are usually the outward-facing areas, the areas in our life that are easy to measure, easy to compare, and it's easy to let other people see what we're doing. This often includes money, it includes vocation, status, education level, the gigs we're getting, and I can tell you that social media does not help because we really only want to broadcast that which appears to be successful. Now, there is a little bit of truth in the idea that success breeds success, and yes, that's true. But I want to challenge many of our current definitions of success because I think we might be approaching the idea of success as composers, as musicians, wrong. When we look at just 1 or 2 or even 3 areas of our lives in which to judge success, I think this often leaves us dissatisfied. It leaves us empty and hollow. It leads to anxiety. And I know for me, not only do I experience anxiety, but I also leads toward depression and unhappiness. You see, I think when we base our happiness on how successful we are in 1 or 2 areas, rather than how successful we are across our entire lives, it's not a true assessment of where we are. And we know that we're faking it in 1 or 2 areas. We know that we're being liars. And honestly, we can look at so many successful, and I say that with air quotes, successful people, either in our industry of music, more specifically composition, or in any area. And I honestly think that they might not be as successful as we think. And let me explain that a little bit more. I want to redefine success by looking at all areas of our lives. This needs to be a whole life process, not just 1 or 2 things, not just about our music, not just about our careers. I think there are really 8 areas of our lives in which we can see how we're doing. We can measure progress and we can kind of quantify and put a number on it saying, how well am I doing in this area of my life? This is a modified version of the Wheel of Life created by Zig Ziglar, so you can go and find that. I added the 8th level, the creativity area, and I think this is important because we, as composers, as musicians, practice this as an integral part of our life. So let me just quickly go through all 8 areas. First, we have creativity, and you can measure this by answering a few questions. Are you satisfied with your creative output? Are you creating passion projects as much as you are creating for your vocation, if at all? Second, we have family. Are the closest and most intimate relationships in your life healthy? Are you spending time developing and nurturing relationships in your family? And I'm under no illusion here that everyone's family life is great, and there's a lot of pain and hurt for all of us. But we still have the most intimate relationships, and that's what I'm putting here. This can be your significant other, it can be your children, it can be your parents, it can be all of that. But these are your closest familial and intimate relationships. Next, we have financial. How well are you doing at maintaining a positive cash flow? Are you staying within your budget? Are you saving? Are you investing for the future? Money is a hard topic to discuss no matter what, but as musicians, I think we have a lot of resistance to this. I see lots of posts on Facebook saying, money is hard, money is wrong, I wish we could just get rid of it. But you know what, folks? It's an integral part of our lives, and we can't escape it, so we need to learn how to deal with it. Next, we have health. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? Are you drinking too much? Are you exercising? Follow that with mental. Are you still learning? Are you growing in knowledge and skill? Are you challenging yourself to grow? I honestly don't know any active or forward-moving composer or musician who doesn't grow in this area, but sometimes we stagnate because we start to focus just on a few specific music-related skills. But are you growing in your knowledge of other areas? Are you reading newspaper articles, magazines, and books about developments in the sciences, in philosophy, in business? Are you reading biographies? Or do you do challenging puzzles as a regular part of your life? These are all part of the mental game. A few more here. Relationships and self-care. Are you happy with your non-intimate relationships? And are the things you are doing in your personal time helping or hurting? I've recently been reflecting a lot on how much time I spend streaming videos and movies on Netflix and Amazon Prime. And I know that I could reclaim 6 to 8 hours of my week. I often watch movies while I'm doing something else, so it's not got my sole attention, but it's certainly distracting me. And that's not something that I need to do. I would say that's not helping me. Spiritual. No matter what your religious affiliation or lack of one is, are you nurturing the spiritual part of your life? This could mean study. It could mean prayer. It could mean meditation. It could mean meeting with people who are of a like mind and similar attitude and belief. I'm not espousing any one particular religion, but I firmly believe that we as humans have a spiritual component. You do not have to believe in a creator. You do not have to believe in any specific deity. But I think there's a part of being human that is outside of this physical realm. And are you nurturing that, or are you neglecting it? And then the very last one is vocation. Are you happy with your work? Does your career look like you want it to? And is your composition business where you want it to be? Many of us have multiple jobs. We live portfolio lifestyles, and that's okay. That's, I think, normal. It's the new normal. And that's part of what we do as we fashion our career to look the way we want it to look. And some of us are even working jobs so that we can have that positive cash flow. We can make enough money. And that then supports what we're doing as composers, as Edwin Dells says, as our 5 to 9 job, our after hours work. But if you're not happy here, you're suffering in other areas. Now, let me kind of tie this together. These areas, even though I've identified 8 of them, are related and they touch each other. You might find that you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in any one of these areas, probably pretty high. Maybe your relationships and self-care is an 8 or a 9. You maintain lots of enriching relationships. Your network is deep and vast. You can call on people at any time. You're taking care of yourself and you're spending your personal time well. And maybe this reflects in your spiritual life and your vocation. But are you sleeping enough? Are you doing enough creative projects? Are you helping your mind do the work it needs to do by feeding it? And honestly, we can't be creative. We can't sustain high energy thing if we're not taking care of our bodies. And that's why health is so important. But all of these are important. There's not an area here that I think isn't important. Ideally, we would be able to rank high or at least moving forward on all of these. And that's what I think a definition of success should be. As I examined my life, as I went through this process, I found I was strong in about a third of the areas, okay to middling in another third, and there were 2 or so that really weren't that great. And that's a lopsided thing. And I don't think that's healthy. That then causes me to have the anxiety, depression, and unhappiness. And I think I've been focusing so much on what success looks in these 1 or 2 or 3 areas that I've neglected everything else. And I'm willing to bet that that might be true for you too. I highly encourage you to examine your definition of success. Examine all these areas of your life and see where you're lacking. And then we need to make plans and we need to take action to bolster our lives. When I listen to business podcasts or when I read books by business leaders and I'm growing in 1 or the 2 of those areas, I'm often inspired by these individuals. And they are super successful in the mental game, the financial game, the vocation game. But you know what? They often suffer for their families, multiple divorces, disenfranchised from their children. They have very few friends, and their health might be suffering. To me, that is not the definition of success. I think success should be that I am working on my whole being, that I am working towards my composition business and growing that, but I'm being as creative as I can be and growing as a composer and a musician, and that I am working hard to make sure my finances are healthy, I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, I continue to stimulate my mind and I'm growing mentally, I care for my network, I manage my personal time well so I have time off from Facebook and technology as well as the things that are stopping me from being healthy. I'm nurturing my spiritual life. All of these things, I think this is what success should look like. I've created a resource for you. If you go to theportfoliocomposer.com/success, you will be forwarded to the show notes page of this website. I've made that nice and short and easy because I know some of you are listening to this while you're driving or doing other things. So let me say it again, theportfoliocomposer.com/success. And you can download this workbook I've created for you called Redefining Success. I outline these 8 areas of your life. I allow you to rank them. And then I ask you to list the areas that are weak and to create action steps that you can do today to see improvement. And if you don't take action, it's not worth anything. You can sit here and you can think about it. You can even identify the areas, but if you don't do anything to fix it, what's the point? you need to identify it, and then you need to take the steps to change it. So if you find that your vocation ranking is low, you're not satisfied with your work, you're not satisfied with where your composition business is, what steps are you going to take to change that? If you find that your health is low, for whatever reason, maybe you need to exercise more, walk the dog, who knows? But what are you going to do to change that? And then lastly, in this workbook, I ask you to examine your current definition of success and how that has been serving you, and then to help you create a new definition of success. I want you to consider examining success by looking at your whole person, not just the work you do as a composer and a musician or an educator or a student. Your life encompasses so much more, and I think to be successful, we need to nurture all of that. And when we have nurtured that and we're well-rounded and we're growing and moving forward in all areas, we have achieved success. And you're probably much healthier and in a better place mentally. So let me say that again. Go to theportfoliocomposer.com/success and download the Redefining Success workbook that I've created for you. All right, composers, you've got this. You can do it. You can be successful.